What's happening, YouTube? Jonathan Pariente, The Education 10 here, coming at you guys with another video. Want to ask you guys to please continue to check and subscribe to my channel for more YouTube videos. And, well, the day has finally come. The NFL season officially kicks off. Well, yeah, it kicked off Thursday, but it was one game, but the real NFL season begins now. In just a matter of 2 hours from now, the first NFL games of the year will begin. This is where the songs have been sung, the stories will be written, and the road to Super Bowl has now begun. Who will take home the Vince Lombardi trophy? Who will be the one that sits atop the mountain at the end of the season? Well, a lot of storylines are going into this season, and without further ado, I'm going to get right into them. Of course, a couple, big last-minute trade, but last-minute signing was made right before the start of the games, and I'll talk to you about that in a few minutes. But let's go around the league. We've already had the Bears and the Packers play their first game of the year already, back on Thursday night. It was an NBC game. Very low-scoring game. The Packers won the game 10-3. Wasn't a blow-me-away game. Aaron Rodgers threw for about 200 yards. Trubisky didn't have his best game. Both teams were kind of feeling each other out. But the Packers got the one touchdown where it counted. It was Jimmy Graham who got the first touchdown of the NFL year. Packers are 1-0. Bears 0-1. And you have to wonder if that's a beginning for the Packers. Are they going to really reestablish their dominance in the NFC North? One game, we'll find out. The Bears, though, still very dangerous. So, that's one game down. And now let's swing into the next big amount of games. Let's get into them, starting with, the very team's jersey that I'm wearing today. Let's hit the music for it, shall we? And here we go. So who we got first? The Jets taking on the Buffalo Bills. Oh boy, and I don't think you could have ever asked for a game where the Jets can really establish who they are now. Jets made all these big moves in the offseason. Le'Veon Bell, C.J. Mosley, Jamison Crowder. Adam Gase is the new head coach. Joe Douglas is the new general manager, boosting up their offensive line, boosting up their whole coaching staff. So you have to wonder now, with Sam Darnold in his second year as a quarterback, what direction are the Jets going to finally be heading in? Well, I see the Jets going into this first game against Buffalo. Yes, they're going to have Josh Allen, but no LaShawn McCoy anymore. He's now been dealt to the Chiefs. So you have to wonder, the Jets should have the edge here. The game is at MetLife, and I think we're going to see a new-look Jet team today. And I think Adam Gase might, and very possible Sam Darnold, are the new direction this Jet team needed. I predict the Jets will win this pretty easily. Jets win the game 30-13 over Buffalo. Moving on to our next game, the Los Angeles Rams and the Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton against Jared Goff. Well, Jared Goff just got a new extension. The Rams, fresh off the Super Bowl, kind of a Super Bowl they want to forget after losing it to New England 13-3. Goff did get a new extension. Rams are getting back a healthy Todd Gurley. You're going to have the rest of your weaponry. You're going to have Robert Woods. You're going to have Brandon Cooks. You're going to have all your main weapons back. I see the Rams going into this game definitely with a chip on their shoulder. Do they beat the Panthers? We'll see. Cam Newton is battling an injury. He's going to play, but he was coming off a foot injury, so you don't know how sharp is Cam going to be, and will he run the ball a lot? It's a very good question. I predict the Rams, though, are going to win this game. I think they definitely want to get that bad taste out of their mouth from the Super Bowl. I predict the Rams win, really a low score, 21-14. I think that's fair enough. 21-14. It'll be a close game. But Jared Goff will just outduel Cam Newton. Just barely, but he'll outduel him. I predict Cam Newton will throw a costly pick, and that will cost the Panthers the game. Moving on to our next game, Kansas City and Jacksonville. Well, Jaguars are going to have a new look on their offense. Nick Foles now leading the way. No more Blake Bortles. However, though, the Jaguars did sign Alfred Blue from the Texans, but he's going to be on the IR. He's out. So you're going to have Leonard Fournette, and you're asking him to do a lot on that running game. So you have to wonder who's going to be stepping up to the plate behind Fournette if he doesn't run the ball well. Is Dede Westbrook going to have a bounce back year? Is the whole Jaguar defense going to bounce back? Because they want to prove something this year, and I hope with Nick Foles they can really do that. I know Nick Foles has won a Super Bowl when he backed up Carson Wentz. Is that going to translate over down south in Florida? We'll have to see. But you're going up against, of course, the next up-and-coming great quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes, and he's going to have everybody back healthy. Tyreek Hill is here. Spencer Ware is back healthy. You're now going to have LaShawn McCoy joining him. You get Travis Kelce healthy this year. They made some changes on defense. And when you look at it in every other way, shape, or form, the game may be in Jacksonville, but you have to say advantage KC. Andy Reid wants to win this year. You feel like the Chiefs have everything assembled to be a team that can go deep in the playoffs, and they certainly showed it last year. If it hadn't been for maybe a couple of turnovers, they would have beaten Tom Brady last year. I predict the Chiefs are going to go in with a purpose this year, and they're going to start by trouncing Jacksonville. Score will be 38-17. Patrick Mahomes will throw for 4 touchdown passes, as the Jaguars will just have no answer for the prolific Chiefs offense. Next game, Baltimore and Miami. Well, this will be a very interesting game. Well, you're going to see the Ravens and their second-year new-look offense. So now you're going to have guys like Lamar Jackson's going to be back in his second year. Is he going to be throwing the ball more now than running the ball? He did well running the ball, but now teams are going to be onto that for this year, and you have to wonder, well, while the Ravens are going to have most of their main weapons back, they got Mark Ingram this offseason, so that'll be a good addition to the run game. You have Dennis Pitta coming back. Andrews is back as your main guy, so the Ravens have pieces here where they can do something, but you have to wonder, will it be enough? You're going up against the Miami Dolphins, and of course, Miami, well, they've had their quarterback problems for a long time. Tannehill didn't pan out for them. They're starting the journeyman Ryan Fitzpatrick, who has been, well, Pixpatrick everywhere pretty much he's been. Not that he hasn't had a great career. He's played a long time, and look, he's a quarterback, and he's made, he wouldn't be on this many teams and still be in the league if they didn't need him. But even with Kenyon Drake, this Dolphin offense just does not have enough. And now they already lost Kenny Stills to the Texans, so they're not going to see him this year. So I think this is going to be a long year for Miami, no doubt about it. And when you're going up against Baltimore, and they're always known to have a prolific defense, even despite no longer having the services of Terrell Suggs anymore, the Ravens are still a team to be fearful of, and this will be no different. Even though it's in Miami, the Ravens know how to play on the road. I predict the Ravens will win this game. It will not be high scoring, but it'll be enough. The Ravens will win the game. I'll give or take by just about one possession, they'll win the game. Ravens will win 19-12. They will hold the Dolphins to no touchdowns. So it should be a big game for Lamar Jackson. I expect he'll throw the ball a little more. Still, I think he's going to run it a little more, but you can do it against Miami because they don't have the best. Their defense is okay, but not perfect. So I think Baltimore wins that game easily. Moving on to our next matchup. It's the Atlanta Falcons and the Minnesota Vikings. Well, a perfect duel of titans right here. Matt Ryan, Matty Ice against Kirk Cousins. Both teams have very prolific offenses each. Both teams have something they want to prove too. Julio Jones going for the Vikings. Sorry, Julio Jones going for the Falcons. Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen for the Vikings. Should be a very good duel. I think this will be a very high-scoring game. And really, who wins this is really a toss-up. Even though the game is in Minnesota, it's a loud place to play. But Atlanta knows a thing or two about loud arenas as they play in the NFC South. So they're very familiar with that type of arena, and they're very familiar with that type of environment. I think this will be a close game, no doubt. As for who wins it, I'm going to say Minnesota will win on their turf. Minnesota will win this game. It'll be, as I said, pretty high scoring. 28-24, Minnesota wins by 4 points. I predict Stefon Diggs will have 2 touchdowns in the game with about 115 yards receiving. You need to have those type of games. The Vikings will get Dalvin Cook back, so that's going to be huge for their running game. You'll have Devontae Freeman running for the Falcons, so that should be a very good, even matchup of 2 running backs. But I think it will be the Vikings that come away victorious. Next game, Tennessee and Cleveland. Oh boy. Marcus Mariota against the new Browns quarterback of the franchise, Baker Mayfield. And, well, I like this matchup of 2 promising quarterbacks, although Mariota's been in the league a little longer. But now you have to kind of say it's put up or shut up time for Cleveland. They really showed you what they could do last year. They now have high expectations going into this year. They have a great group now, and with Baker Mayfield leading the way, you love this offense. Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham Jr., David Njoku. And just think about it, 8 more games from now, Kareem Hunt comes back. So wait till they get Kareem Hunt back from 8-game suspension, and wait what he brings to the run. Till you see what he brings to the running game. Oh my goodness, that will be just deadly. And being that this game is going to be in the dog pound in Cleveland, I predict the Browns will win this game pretty easily. I just don't see if Mariota can get the ball around. He just never really has seemed to put it together. That's been his problem. Either he gets hurt, he makes a costly pick, he doesn't show up in a big game. Now you're going to have Derrick Henry, and he really showed you something last year, but I just don't think it will amount to enough for the Titans. This game's going to go to Cleveland. I think they're going to win this game pretty easily. Cleveland will win this game 31-10. I think Baker Mayfield's going to throw for 330 yards. I just do not see the Titans getting through that Brown defense, which is also not to be overlooked either. That Brown defense is really dangerous. And to think, they built through years of bad years, and they got guys like Myles Garrett. They signed up good pieces for their defense. The Browns are no longer a joke anymore, guys. They're here to take over that AFC North. Next game, the Washington Redskins and the Philadelphia Eagles. So that should be a very interesting game, too. Dwayne Haskins, the new first-year quarterback, will take the helm against Carson Wentz. Wentz has been coming off 2 injury-plagued years. He would get the Eagles to the playoffs, but then down would go Wentz. You wouldn't see him. So, will Carson Wentz stay healthy this year? That's, I guess, the question on everybody's mind. Can he? Because you have to think about this. In the years the Eagles have been to the playoffs the last 2 years, including winning the Super Bowl, Carson Wentz was not a part of it. It's stunning. So you have to wonder now, will Carson Wentz be able to get the Eagles to a playoff and prove he can win in a playoff? This first game will be a perfect test of that. I predict the Eagles will win this game. They want to prove something, and they have their main guys together. You still have Alshon Jeffrey. You still have... You now got Deshaun Jackson back, so that's going to be really huge. That's going to really, I think, boost the Eagles and what Carson Wentz can bring to the table for them. So, I predict the Eagles will win this game pretty easily. Jay Ajayi also comes back this year for their running game. So, the Eagles will have all their weaponry back going into this first game of the year. So, I predict the Eagles will win 24-14. They'll give the Redskins will have a shot. It's not going to be... I think Haskins will show you something. All right. Next up, Indy and the Chargers. Well, if Andrew Luck was playing, I would have said this would have been a great matchup going against Phillip Rivers. But now Luck has retired. Jacoby Brissett's now leading the gang. Not saying he isn't a good quarterback. He sat behind Brady for a couple years, so you figure that's going to help him go places. We'll see. He has a good offense to throw the ball to. Marlon Mack's a good runner. You have T.Y. Hilton. You have pieces you could throw to. But you have to wonder, though, can the Colts solve a defense like the Chargers not having Luck there? Is the offensive line going to actually protect Brissett because it didn't protect Luck? So you have to kind of ask yourself that question. You look at the Chargers. Well, yes, they don't have Melvin Gordon. he might not return for another 6 to 8 weeks, still wanting a certain amount of money on his contract that right now that the Chargers are not paying him right now. So he talked about wanting to get traded. So this is kind of a very bit of a tough situation that the Chargers find themselves in, but they have a backup running back. They have Eckler who can run the ball fine. You still got weapons to throw the ball to. You still have your main guys, Travis Benjamin, somebody you could throw it to. You have a lot of... Phillip Rivers will make it work with whoever he has. Of course, you're going to have your main weaponry to throw to. So I think Rivers will be in pretty good shape. I don't think this will be too big of an issue for him. You have Keenan Allen. That's somebody you can get the ball to. That's your number one guy to throw. Rivers will find a way. Chargers will win this game. I think they need to make a statement early. Chargers will win. It'll be close. I say 28-20. Phillip Rivers will throw for about 250 yards. He'll throw 2 touchdowns. It'll be enough. Chargers win that game. Okay, now moving on. Bengals and Seahawks. Well, Andy Dalton, Russell Wilson. Well, where can I put this matchup? Because it just seems like every year we wait for Andy Dalton to finally break out as the quarterback to lead the Bengals. He either has great games or he either has crap games. And you don't know. You just don't know where the Bengals are going every year. You know, they've had Marvin Lewis. You thought he was the answer. He got let go. You just don't know how this Bengals team is going to respond each year. And now, of course, they don't have A.J. Green for a little bit. He's out. Yes, you have Joe Mixon, but who else is Dalton going to throw to here? So I really don't give much of a chance to the Bengals. And, you know, you're going up against Russell Wilson. And you're playing, of course, in Seattle, which is one of the loudest arenas to play. And, you know, the Seahawks have some weapons that I think are going to support Russell Wilson going forward. You have DK Metcalf, this new rookie who I believe will play. And he definitely possesses some good skill. I'm curious to see what he'll bring to the table for his first game. You have Baldwin to throw the ball to. Doug Baldwin, always been there, prolific wide receiver. You have Carson, who's going to be, I think, a very solid running back. Elijah Penny, a good backup. So I know they've gone through a lot of change with their defense. They don't have the Legion of Boom anymore. But I think the Seahawks have enough firepower on their team where, you know, you're playing in Seattle. Russell Wilson almost never loses there. I think Seattle wins this game pretty easy. Will it be a high-scoring game? I don't think it'll be very high, but the Seahawks will put up at least a couple touchdowns. I say they win this game. I'm going to say they win 21-10. Close enough. Wilson will throw for about 230 yards. It's going to be his first game back. You know, everybody's kind of feeling the kinks with their guys. Takes a couple weeks until everybody really gets going. Seahawks win 21-10. That's my prediction. Next up, Detroit and Arizona. The first-year quarterback, the first-year head coach, Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. Well, you wonder where this is going to go because Kyler Murray still thinks that his college run offense will work in the NFL. You know, we've had many college quarterbacks thinking their offense would work in the NFL, and let's take Tim Tebow, for instance, and look where that got him. Does Tim Tebow have a job in the NFL anymore? No. Let me see, I'm going to throw a few more names out there. You know, again, guys that thought a college offense would translate here. And you still have to wonder if maybe it will. It's a little too early to say, but Kyler Murray, you hope it works out. He does have guys he can give the ball to. I'm not saying he doesn't. He's not a very big guy, but he can run. But will it work? Very, very few running quarterbacks in the league have been successful with running the ball on their own and kind of running the offense the way that Murray thinks he can run it. Michael Vick was really one of the first great running quarterbacks. Cam Newton was kind of right after him, not too bad. And then you had, you've had some that kind of come and go. But I'm not sure about Kyler Murray yet. And I'm not sure, even despite the Cardinals having Suggs to lead that defense, they still have Larry Fitzgerald. You have David Johnson coming back. But is it enough for Kyler Murray when you're going up against the Lions? Matt Stafford has had quite an offseason. Wife was battling a tumor, but Stafford's playing. He might play with a purpose this year. I predict Stafford will, and he's one of the great quarterbacks. You know, just never has been able to take the Lions deep. Maybe this is the year he doesn't. Yes, I know gone are the days when the Lions had Megatron, but you still have weapons to throw to. They don't have Golden Tate anymore. That's a bit of a tough loss for them. But the Lions have enough on the receiving end where you have Kenny Golladay. I think he's a very promising future of the wide receiving core for this team. We saw it last year. That's a go-to guy Stafford can get the ball to. Kerryon Johnson can run the ball for them fine. I think the Lions will be okay for this game. I don't see the Cardinals really scoring a lot. They'll put a little bit of pressure on them, but the Lions will win the game by about 2 possessions. I say they win 23-13. Stafford will throw for about 240 yards. It'll be enough. It'll be enough to win. So the Lions win that game. Now we go to one of the big battles in the NFC East. America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, against the New York Football Giants. And, well, this will be a very, very curious game if you're the Giants. You have Daniel Jones now to be your quarterback with a future behind Eli Manning. As of obviously right now, Eli is starting. Daniel Jones will get his shot when he gets his shot. So the Giants will have questions. Second-year running back Saquon Barkley looking to build off last year. No doubt the future of the running game for the Giants. You have Sterling Shepard now to really kind of be one of the go-to guys for the Giants. You can get the ball to him. So you have to look at now, if you're the Giants, no Odell Beckham. So is that going to hurt Eli a little bit now? Because now maybe teams will adjust and they'll double up on Sterling Shepard. Maybe they'll double up on Golden Tate perhaps down the road from here. You don't know. But I'm curious to see how Eli Manning will move the ball around. Yes, you want to run it with Barkley, which is very important. Will the offensive line protect Eli? That's a very good question. Because you're going into Dallas, and now Dallas has a little bit of new life now that they were able to reach a contract extension with Ezekiel Elliott. So now Ezekiel Elliott's playing. You have Dak Prescott. You got Amari Cooper. You have pieces to throw the ball to. So you have to wonder if the Dallas offense will be able to kind of pick apart the Giant defense. Going to be very interesting. I think going into this game, it's a tough call. This is really a toss-up because both these teams are so even. But I think Dallas wants to prove something this year, and I think Ezekiel Elliott will come out and have a big game, despite having not played pretty much at all during the preseason. So I predict Dallas will take it to the Giants. It'll be a close game. They're going to win on a field goal, 31-28. It'll come down to Eli making a very costly interception that will cost the Giants the football game. So 31-28, Dallas wins. Next game on the board, Tampa Bay, San Francisco. Jameis Winston against the returning Jimmy Garoppolo. And this should be a curious game if you're San Francisco. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo missed all of last year. He had the torn ACL. So you have to wonder, well, how sharp is he going to be in his first NFL regular season game back from a year ago? But you like what the Niners have. You do have Matt Breida, who can run the ball pretty good. George Kittle really emerged as a good tight end for them. So you have Garrett Selleck. I think they'll be okay, the Niners. Will it translate to winning their first game? I think so. You know, Jameis Winston, I'm still yet to see can he lead that team, because he's had, look what happened to him a year ago. He played so bad that he got benched, and Ryan Fitzpatrick had to play instead of him. So that kind of tells you something. If that didn't serve as a wake-up call to him, I don't know what will. And you really kind of wonder, because the Buccaneers have a great receiving core. I mean, a great core. You have Humphreys you can throw the ball to. You have O.J. Howard. You have Godwin. You have Evans. You have Mike Evans. You have all these pieces you can throw to. You have Peyton Barber to run the ball. The only issue was, can Jameis Winston get the ball to them? Well, I'm curious where this is going to end up. I predict, though, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to come out and make a statement. He wants to show the world he's still here. He didn't back up Brady for nothing, and, it wasn't like Bill Belichick didn't think he wasn't a successor. I think you're going to see the Jimmy Garoppolo of old come back, and I think the Niners are going to kind of romp the Buccaneers on their turf at Raymond James. I think it's going to really sting, but I think the Buccaneers are going to get killed by the Niners today. Niners will win 28-13. Garoppolo will throw for 296 yards, and we'll have 3 touchdown passes. Now that brings us to our Sunday night primetime game. Actually, I'll get to this game right now, because all of a sudden, this is the game I'm talking about that had a really big change to it. New England and Pittsburgh. Well, if you're New England, I mean, isn't it crazy how things turn on a dime for them, like, every single year? As you know, the other day, Antonio Brown was released by the Oakland Raiders. He didn't want to play there. He basically got into fights with the general manager. And lo and behold, he gets cut. And who signs him? New England. 1 year, $15 million. Although Brown will not play this week against Pittsburgh. You'll see him next week. But again, you look at this, another steal by New England. They just constantly find a way to take a cast off and turn him into something big. And what's happening now with Brown is exactly what happened to Randy Moss in 2007. He signed with Oakland, didn't ever play a game for them, and he wanted out. And sure enough, guess who took him? New England. Even though that did not translate to New England winning the Super Bowl that year, although they did go undefeated. But having Antonio Brown now on that offense with New England, putting him with Julian Edelman, putting him with Josh Gordon, as if Brady needed another weapon to throw to. Now he's going to have Antonio Brown. And with Sony Michel running, this is a dangerous New England team now, even without Gronkowski. That's scary. Gronkowski retires, and yet New England got even stronger adding Antonio Brown. The Steelers, I was still, you can't look past the Steelers. You do have Big Ben. Vance McDonald has proven to be the tight end of the future for them. You have James Conner, and of course you have Juju Smith-Schuster to now lead the wide receiving core. This will be a high-scoring game, no doubt in my mind, but in past history, the Steelers have never done well at Foxborough. They've never done well against New England, and I kind of predict this game will be no different. New England's going to put up points in this game, as will Pittsburgh, but it's going to end in New England's favor, unfortunately. New England will win 41-27. Okay? 41-27. Tom Brady will throw for close to 400 yards, and he'll throw 4 touchdown passes. Big Ben will do as best as he can, but I just don't think the Steelers are going to match up completely with New England. They're going to make 1 or 2 turnovers that will cost them the game. Moving on to our Monday night games. Beginning first with Houston and New Orleans. That should be a very interesting matchup there. Now, Houston is going to be weakened a little bit in this game. No Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller out for the year with an ACL. And that was the worst thing you could have had happen to the Texans with the running game. No Lamar Miller. And of course now Alfred Blue signed with the Jags, and he's out on the IR this year. So that's going to be that's a big loss for Houston. And while you have Deshaun Watson, what am I saying? While you have Deshaun Watson, and yes, he can run the football, no problem. Watson can only do so much with running the ball. You're going to need a running back to go behind them. And yes, you have DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, you have somebody you can throw to. That's very important. But I just don't know if the Texans will have enough for this game, and I don't know for this year, unless they find a good running back to replace Lamar Miller. You're going into the Superdome. You're going into New Orleans, and that is one of the loudest arenas in football alongside Seattle. Drew Brees is coming back, of course, this year once again. Michael Thomas is back. You have Alvin Kamara for that Saints offense. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If New Orleans didn't have something they wanted to play for this year, they are furious how they lost that championship game last year with the referee call that got the Rams to the Super Bowl when they should have won, in their honest opinion. And, how those referees didn't get in trouble, didn't get even fired, I don't even know. And everyone's going to be bashing that game for a long time. And, it's going to be even funnier. The Rams and Saints will meet next week. So that's going to be pretty hilarious when we get to that game. And I'll tell you what, there's going to be storylines galore next week in that game when the Rams take on the Saints. And you don't think the Saints are going to be wanting to make a statement? I think the Saints are going to make that statement in New Orleans against the likes of the Rams. next week. But as for this week, the Texans are going to, I just don't think the Texans have enough offense. They're going to put up points, but it's not going to be enough. The Saints will put up like 30 points on them for this game. I predict 34-17, New Orleans will win this game easy, in the Big Easy. And finally, the Monday night game, the late night game, the second one, Denver and Oakland in the Black Hole at Oakland, California. Well, Oakland is now down. No more Antonio Brown. AB is now a Patriot. You have to wonder how this is going to affect the Raiders. It just seems like the Raiders are always cursed with bad luck. 12 years ago, as I said, this happened when they had Randy Moss. Now, 12 years later, fast forward to now with Antonio Brown. He never played a snap in a regular season game for Oakland, and now he's off to New England. Although, you do have to like what the Raiders have. Derek Carr is obviously leading the way, and you do have the likes of Darren Waller, a good tight end. John Jacobs, I'm curious to see what he'll bring to the table as their new running back. I believe it's Josh Jacobs. I have to get the name. I have to just check the name one more time, but I believe it was. I believe it's Josh Jacobs is the new running back for this club. And yes, it is Josh Jacobs. So I'm curious what type of season he'll have his first year as a Raider. So you do have Tyrell Williams, a good deep threat. But I'm curious, will Oakland have enough in this game against Denver with Joe Flacco now leading the way for the Broncos? And you have still Von Miller, you have Cortland Sutton, a good wide receiver, you have Phillip Lindsay, who really showed what he can do last year. I predict Denver's going to have enough to win this game. I still think the Raiders are going to still be reeling from what happened with Antonio Brown and how he left. So my prediction, Denver Broncos beat the Raiders. It'll be a close game, 24-17. I predict Joe Flacco will lead a game-winning touchdown drive that will spur the Broncos to victory. So, ladies and gentlemen, the floodgates now officially open. The NFL season kicks off in an hour and a half from now. Will my predictions hold true? Will we see some upsets this week? Will we see some surprises this week? We're going to find out starting today. But for now, Jonathan Pariente, The Education 10, saying bye for now.